What age should a kid get a phone?
We're Paul and Vicki Jenkins. We are professionals who have worked with parents and children for the past 3 decades, and we live in a digital world now. So some of us as parents don't have any history about this. Here are 5 considerations to help you out.
Are we talking about a telephone, or are we talking about a handheld internet connection?
It's interesting that you just articulated telephone.
Oh, I know. People don't even say that now, huh?
Well, because they don't mean telephone.
That's true.
I think phone has become a word that means a handheld, internet-connected digital device. Right?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Because when you said telephone, I just realized that as you said it. It struck me as strange.
Yeah.
We used to have telephones. Do you remember they were connected to
yes.
the wall and they had a cord and you'd kind of wind up in it as you were having your phone call, right?
Right.
So are we talking about a telephone?
Right, and really think about the whole internet connection too, because there are many, many devices that connect to the internet that aren't even, you can't make any phone calls on them.
And most people with a digital device don't use it primarily for a telephone.
Right.
That's just one of the features, and they are communicating in other ways. So as we get into this conversation, what age should a kid have a phone? What do we mean? I remember a family I was working with where the child, and I think this child was 11 or 12 years old, was just clamoring to get a phone.
Right.
Well, what the kid meant was an internet-connected digital device, right? But the parents chose to get the child a telephone. And the kid didn't know what to do with the telephone. It was one of those old flip phones or something like that.
Well, and I will say as a parent, you do need to become aware of the whole idea of the internet connection. I work in schools, and one time there was a child who was called into the office because there was some cyberbullying going on at this child's level. And when they called the parent in, the parent said, oh, well, he has my old phone, but we don't have a phone package on it. And so the dad didn't realize that even though there was not a phone cellular package on it, it was accessing anytime he was in Wi-Fi. And so we really need to distinguish, are we going to give them access to the internet or are we going to give them cellular? And so that's something, the first consideration to talk about.
Here's the second consideration, and maybe this should have been the first one actually. I think it is important to determine what kind of a device are we talking about here, but the really fundamental consideration here is how mature is my child.
Right. And by mature, we mean in their stage of mature development.
Maturity has something to do with age, but not everything, because we all know kids who are pretty mature, and we know adults who are not.
Right.
And it can be anywhere in between. So we're talking stage, not age. What we're referring to here is a moral development model. And I know you can't see it really well here on the video, but we'll give you a copy of this model. In fact, go to the URL on the screen right now, drpauljenkins.com/stages, and you will get a PDF full color copy of this that you can refer to. That's what we mean by how mature is your child?
You'll see from that PDF that comes to you that maturity is tied pretty closely with control. And so as you understand the maturity that your child is at, the stage they're at, will help you understand just how much control you are going to give them of whatever device you give them and how much control you're going to retain to keep them safe.
And that's because it tells you really how much control they're capable of based on their maturity. And you'll get a sense for this really quickly, because if you really believe that your child is mature from a moral development standpoint, you're not going to have as many qualms or hesitations about giving them access to something like an internet-connected device. The bottom line here is the more mature your child is, the more control they're capable of. But remember, there's some warnings here too. And I know you're really sensitive to this as a mom, because it's a dangerous world out there, right?
Yeah. And so you're going to take into consideration the amount of control that they're capable of handling, as well as the amount of control that you feel comfortable giving them because they have access to people who you don't really know what their maturity level is.
There's always a risk involved. So the control that you give to your child is also the risk that you are taking as a parent. And those are kind of hard to balance sometimes, but I think these considerations will help.
The third consideration is, does your child need a phone or does your child want a phone? And this is a really hard question, to distinguish for your child. You know, they might think that they need it, and there might be situations where they do. So there's just really be aware of what is the need and what is the want for your child. And this is going to open up great conversations with your child.
Well, this whole needs and wants thing, it's important for us as adults to get clear about the difference between a need and a want. That's going to help you with your own budget, by the way. But for our kids, they're not accustomed to thinking of things in this way. Really, it comes down to 5 basic needs that you have to provide your children morally, ethically, and even legally. We call them the 5 freebies around here. And it is, very quickly, love, air, water, food, and shelter. Notice phone isn't on the list. So a phone is a want. Now, but the consideration is, does your child need a phone or does your child want a phone?
And it actually kind of bleeds into consideration number 4 is, do you want your child to have a phone or do you need your child to have a phone? And I know this came into play a lot as a parent, because there were a few times that I felt, I don't know if it was really a need or a want, but I really, really did want my child to have access to the phone because of some safety concerns. There are times, so you can be looking at, is it my want? Is it my need? Is it their want? Is it their need? Combination.
Well, as we look at another definition of needs, Maslow, one of the primary developmental theorists of our time, talked about a hierarchy of needs, and one of those is safety. It's one of the basic needs. So as a parent, you may have a legitimate concern about your child's safety. And let's say that you're sending them off on some activity, and maybe it's even a supervised activity, but you, for their safety, want to have access to them or have them have the ability to make an emergency phone call if they need to. That's totally fine and legitimate. But notice also this is tying into consideration number 1. Is it a phone that your child wants? It may be a phone that you want your child to have. So let's make that distinction, and there are other ways. So here's one of the basic rules of thumb for positive parenting. Think, not fight. And I mean you. Okay, I mean, you get to spend a little time thinking. If you would spend even a quarter of the time that you've spent fighting with your child about this, thinking, what could you come up with?
You know, there are a lot of devices out there these days. And
it's true.
I mean, there's so many that I feel like there have been 5 new ones developed since I probably looked into it. So you're going to want to look. There are watches, there are devices, there are handheld different things, there's computers, there's all kinds of things that you can use. So you might want to at least look into that there might be a really good way to have access to your child if that's what's important to you, or have them have access to you without maybe access to all of the internet. So just consider that and talk to some of your providers about that or other parents.
Remember, think, not fight. Now, this last consideration is something that comes up quite a bit when we're making choices like this as parents. Why am I doing this? Is this something that I'm caving into social pressure or to the demands of my child? See, that doesn't feel very good if that's my why. But what if the reason for considering giving my child a phone or any other device is to teach real-world principles like responsibility or safety?
And respect of other people. You've got a great opportunity here to teach real-life experiences and responsibility. And so that is another reason that you might consider whether to give a phone or not to give a phone to a child.
Now notice this is also a privilege, not a right. And I make that distinction because if it's a privilege, it can definitely be an earned privilege. Meaning, if you bring this into the picture, you now have another tool at your disposal for appropriate consequences, for example.
And remember that a privilege is something that can be earned, but it can also be taken away.
Exactly. This is a way that you can use the device then as a teaching tool for you to accomplish as a parent what it is you ultimately want for your child, to help them to be happy and successful in this world by living the principles that will allow them to do that. Hopefully that gave you a few ideas that you can use. Remember to grab that model. This is really the foundation for positive parenting. drpauljenkins.com/stages. We've got you. Thanks for watching.